Hi, thanks for joining me. This is Angie at angiejuda.com, and this is the second video for the Lulu Roses Quilt Along. Okay, so I've got all of my squares cut. So I've got 8 of this one cut, and 8 of this one, 8 of this one, this one. So I have 7 patterns, and I've cut 8 of each pattern, okay? So that gives me a total of 56 blocks. And I did go ahead and press them because they were too wrinkly to work with. And I have also already decided what my first row is going to look like. But I'm kind of sort of jumping ahead. So I'm going to back up for just a second. The next thing you want to do is make sure that all of your fabric is going in the same direction. So I'm going to show you this method. So that pops really nicely. I'm going to turn it over on the other side. That has a dull pop. That has a nice pop. So I want to make sure that the nice pop on all of these is at the very top. Now I've gone ahead and done that. So just snap it really quickly like that. And all of those are at the very top. Now we want to cut our jelly roll strips. And we need, let me get my instructions out here again really quick. I want to make sure I give you the exact measurements and everything. So you need 49 strips that measure 2.5 by 6.5, and that's going to be these white pieces. Here's a better picture right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to attach a 2.5 by 6.5 strip to the bottom of every single one of these except the last row. So that's why I went ahead and determined what my first row was going to be, because my first row is also going to be my last row. And this is going to be a little hard to explain, but hopefully you guys are visual like I am, and this chart will help you, okay? My first row is this right here. So this pink is this polka dot. The green is this one here. The blue is this one. The yellow is this one. This one's orange, this one's gray, and this is another blue. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take, I have some numbered pins. If you don't have numbered pins, you can use Post-it notes. That's what I usually use. And I'm just going to pin one of these so that I don't lose track of which fabric is going to be what, okay? So Post-it note, numbered pins, whatever method you prefer, just go ahead and label your first row, so that way when you go to attach your 2.5 by 6.5 strip, you're not going to attach it to the bottom row. And I know that might be confusing. The first time I made a quilt like this, I did attach those to that very bottom row, but that bottom row right there is just going to have the sashing. It's not going to be these small strips, which we will cut in just a second. I just want to number these really quick before I get anything mixed up. I've got a couple more to pin here. I told you guys, I warned you in advance that this quilt is a little bit more complicated than the other ones. Using pre-cuts is really my method of, my preferred method of making quilts. Okay, a couple more. Last one, I'll bring it a little closer. Now what I'm going to do is just stack these up and get these out of my way so that we can cut the jelly roll strips. Okay, my nice stack of fabric, I'm going to move that over. We're going to open up the jelly roll. Now we need sashing for the sides and the bottom, and then we need sashing for the bottom of each of those squares. So what we're going to do is open up the jelly roll, and we're going to go ahead and pull out the sashing for the sides. Now what we're going to do is we're going to sew 2 of them together for our top sashing, for the sashing on the right, the sashing on the bottom, and on the left. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8. So we're going to need 8 for the outside, but then you're also going to need sashing in between each row. So this is another 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And remember, we're cutting off 2 of our rows. So let me make sure I've got that right. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. That would be correct. So you're going to need a total of 20 of these for your sashing on the outside and on the inside, but not those bottom pieces. So I'm going to pull out 20. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Okay, so this 20, I'm just going to set that aside so that I don't cut it. That's going to be for the side sashing and in between each row sashing. These are the ones that we're going to cut to measure 2.5 by 6.5. They already measure 2.5, so we're just going to cut them at 6.5. And we only need 49 of those. So I'm going to get this out of the way and get my grid, and we will start cutting. I'm going to move these over. The first thing you want to do is take your jelly roll and you want to cut the salvage off. You want to make sure it's straight. And I usually use a smaller ruler for this. It's upstairs right now, so I will go ahead and use this one. So I'm just going to cut off the salvage part. Now you're going to be able to cut 2 of these at a time, okay? So what I want to do is find my 6.5 on here. You want to make sure that your fabric is straight because you're cutting 2 of these at a time. There we go. Okay, so my ruler here. So I'm going to line up the 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, we need 6.5. This is not the first time I've messed up and cut something at 6. So you're going to cut these at 6.5. You're going to need 49. So we're going to see how many we can get out of one strip. Did I just lock that back? I did. So there's 2. Four. And 6. So we get 6 out of one jelly roll strip. So you can get, we need 49 of these. So I'm going to pull out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more of these. We don't need these, so I'm going to set those aside. So I'm going to cut 9 of these. That's going to give me 54. So I don't need 54, but I won't cut all of the final strip. So I'm not going to make you watch me cut all of these because I've got to remove the salvage and then cut it 6.5. So I will be back when I get done cutting these, okay? Okay, so I am back and all of my fabric is now cut. So we've got our 6.5 inch squares. We've got our jelly roll strips that measure 6.5 by 2.5. And then we've got our sashing. What I've done is labeled this, tied something around it so that if I get distracted or whatever, I won't lose. I will remember what this is basically because I do get interrupted a lot. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to remove the bottom row, because remember I said this bottom row does not get these strips. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the bottom row. The bottom row is exactly like the top row, so it's safe to say that I can just go ahead and remove the pinned ones, okay? So I'm just going to turn that over. Let's see. It's okay if we do this backwards. I hope that this is making sense. If it doesn't, please let me know, and I can film a video to correct anything that isn't making sense. It makes sense in my mind, but you never know. I could be wrong. Okay, last one. Okay, so we're just going to set this aside with the sashing because we're not going to touch that. Okay, and then what we're going to do next is we're going to take one of these and one of these. We're going to place them right sides together. This is going to be attached at the bottom, and I'm just going to sew a 1/4 inch seam. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to stop here because you've got a lot of fabric to cut, and I think that this is a good stopping point for video 2. So video 3 will pick up with me sewing this strip on the bottom. Okay? If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks a lot. Bye.